Chapter 6. The Discipline of Action. Opening tone: deliberate, powerful, commanding. You can know everything. You can plan, reflect, and prepare. But if you don't act, you stay the same. That's the truth most people run from. They love ideas, not execution. They collect wisdom, not results. Knowledge means nothing without motion. That's the key. The Stoic doesn't just think, he moves. He doesn't wait for motivation, he acts despite it. Because he knows that clarity doesn't come before action. It comes from it. You have a choice. Keep waiting for the right time, or make the time right now. The enemy of action: comfort. Comfort is the silent killer of discipline. It whispers that you've done enough, that you deserve rest before the work is even complete. Comfort is what turns warriors into watchers. It's what turns potential into regret. The Stoic doesn't chase comfort. He chases growth. He knows that comfort feels good now, but costs him later. Discomfort feels bad now, but pays him forever. That's the trade. That's the law. When you choose the easy path, you train weakness. When you choose the hard path, you train strength. Every small act of discipline, getting up early, finishing what you start, doing what you said you'd do, builds your inner armor. Every time you give in to comfort, you crack it. You have a choice. Every day. Every moment. Motion versus progress. Most people confuse movement with progress. They stay busy to avoid being honest. They plan endlessly. They research. They talk about what they'll do. But action without aim is just noise. And talking without doing is delusion. The Stoic moves with intention. He doesn't rush. He executes. Every action has direction. Every move has meaning. Busyness is ego. Discipline is focus. You don't need to do more, you need to do what matters. Stop scattering energy. Start concentrating it. That's how mastery is built. The Stoic method: act, observe, adjust. Action isn't about perfection, it's about momentum. You act. You observe. You adjust. That's the Stoic cycle. No emotion. No excuses. No waiting. You don't need to get it right the first time. You just need to start. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Stop theorizing about courage, act with it. Stop talking about self-control, practice it. Stop wishing for change, make it. You don't need permission. You don't need validation. You just need movement. That's the discipline of action. Emotion and action. Emotion is the greatest excuse people use to avoid progress. I don't feel like it. I'm not inspired. I'm too tired. The Stoic acts anyway. Because emotion follows motion. Once you start, momentum wakes up the mind. Once you move, energy appears. You don't need to feel ready to begin. You need to begin to feel ready. That's the secret. That's the key. When you act in spite of emotion, you build control over it. When you wait for emotion to align, you stay enslaved to it. The Stoic acts not because he's fearless, but because he refuses to let fear decide. Discipline over motivation. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is a fire. Motivation fades when life gets hard. Discipline burns through every season. The Stoic doesn't depend on motivation. He depends on habits, structure, and principle. He trains himself to do what's needed, not what's easy. You won't always feel like doing the work. Do it anyway. You won't always see results. Do it anyway. Consistency compounds. The small actions done daily, even when invisible, become unstoppable over time. That's how the Stoic wins, not in bursts, but in rhythm. Not through passion, but through persistence. Action in adversity. It's easy to act when conditions are perfect. But real discipline shows when everything falls apart. When plans fail. When people doubt you. When progress stalls. That's when most people freeze. But the Stoic breathes, recenters, and keeps moving. Because he knows that adversity isn't an obstacle, it's the arena. It's where your principles are tested. It's where your strength becomes real. You can't control outcomes. You can't control results. But you can always control your effort. That's what separates the fragile from the focused. When the weak stop, the Stoic endures. When the world retreats, he advances one step, one breath, one disciplined act at a time. The discipline of finishing. Starting is easy. Finishing is rare, because finishing requires endurance. When the excitement dies, discipline must take over. When the reward seems far away, focus must carry you. Every unfinished task drains energy. Every completed one fuels momentum. So finish. Finish what you start. Even when no one's watching. Even when you're tired. Because that's how you train your mind to trust yourself. Every time you finish, you reinforce identity. I'm someone who follows through. That's power. That's freedom. Action without attachment. The Stoic acts, but he doesn't cling to results. He does his duty and releases control of the outcome. Because attachment creates anxiety. When you act only to win, failure breaks you. But when you act because it's right, nothing can defeat you. Epictetus taught, do your duty, leave the rest to God. In modern terms, do the work, detach from outcome. You can't control reward, only response. You can't control results, only repetition. That's how the Stoic stays steady, calm in success, calm in failure. Because his worth isn't in winning. It's in doing what must be done. Closing transition. Action is the proof of mastery. It's where philosophy becomes reality. Where principles become power. You've learned to be still in chaos. You've learned to speak less and see more. Now you must move, not rashly, but relentlessly. Because no thought, no belief, no intention matters until it's lived. You've built calm. You've built clarity. Now build momentum. Chapter 7. The Discipline of Endurance. Opening tone, slow, powerful, steady, like a soldier's march through fire. Endurance is not about lasting a moment. It's about lasting a lifetime. Anyone can push hard for a day. Few can keep going when days turn into years. That's what separates the ordinary from the unbreakable. Because endurance isn't just physical, it's mental. It's emotional. It's spiritual. The Stoic understands this truth. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. You can't control what happens. But you can always control how long you stand. That's the key. The weight of the long game. Modern minds crave instant results. Instant success. Instant validation. But mastery doesn't happen in a moment. It happens in repetition, through slow, invisible work. You don't build strength by lifting once. You build it by lifting when you're tired, bored, and uninspired. Endurance is the art of staying when every part of you wants to quit. The Stoic lives for the long game. He knows that everything great takes time, and that time will test him. Because time exposes what's real. The weak fade. The strong remain. Every day you endure, you expand your capacity. You stretch what you once thought impossible. You evolve. That's the quiet transformation most people never reach. The storm will come. There's no escaping it. Life will test you. You will lose people. You will face betrayal, disappointment, failure. But those aren't punishments. They're passages. They refine you. The Stoic doesn't wish for an easy path. He trains for a hard one. Because he knows ease softens while struggle strengthens. When the storm hits, the undisciplined panic. The Stoic breathes. He remembers, this is the training. Every obstacle is part of his endurance. Every difficulty is a rep for the soul. You can break down or you can break through. You have a choice. Emotion and endurance. When you're tired, emotion starts whispering. This isn't worth it. You're not good enough. Just give up. But emotion lies. The Stoic doesn't believe every thought that appears. He recognizes emotion as weather, temporary, fleeting. Feelings come and go, but discipline must remain. You can cry and still continue. You can be scared and still move forward. You can feel weak and still act strong. Because endurance isn't about feeling nothing. It's about feeling everything and continuing anyway. That's the essence of inner strength. The Stoic's mindset in struggle. Pain has two outcomes. It breaks you or it builds you. The difference? Perspective. The Stoic doesn't say, why me? He says, try me. He meets adversity with acceptance, not as a victim, but as a craftsman shaping his own soul. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. That's endurance, turning obstacles into opportunities. Transforming hardship into hardening. Every setback is a lesson in disguise. Every delay, a test of your patience. Every challenge, a mirror showing you who you are. You don't run from it. You run through it. The power of patience. Endurance is patience in motion. It's not passive waiting, it's active persistence. You don't wait for life to change. You work while it does. You don't wait for results. You build until they appear. The Stoic trains himself to see time differently. He doesn't measure progress by speed, but by steadiness. You can move fast and still go nowhere. You can move slow and build something eternal. So don't rush. Don't demand. Don't expect everything now. Let patience become your weapon. Because patience protects your energy. And energy sustains your journey. That's endurance. Energy preserved, discipline maintained. Endurance in solitude. Sometimes, endurance means standing alone. People leave. Support fades. The crowd disappears. And you're left with silence. That's when endurance deepens. Because now you're not powered by attention, you're powered by conviction. The Stoic doesn't need applause to persist. He endures because the mission matters. He stays consistent because the standard is his own. You don't need a cheerleader when you've built character. You don't need validation when you've built vision. The world may not see your effort. That's fine. Because endurance isn't performed, it's proven. The body breaks, the mind decides. There will be days when your body says enough. When fatigue feels endless. When quitting feels logical. But the body follows the mind. The Stoic whispers back, one more step. Just one more. Because endurance doesn't require massive leaps, just persistence. Tiny, relentless acts of continuation. That's how mountains are climbed. That's how legacies are built. One step at a time. The undisciplined wait for strength. The Stoic creates it through endurance. The discipline of recovery. Endurance doesn't mean burning out. It means knowing when to rest strategically. Even soldiers retreat to recover. Even machines need maintenance. The Stoic honors rest as part of endurance. He pauses not to quit, but to recharge. Because true discipline isn't constant exertion, it's sustainable consistency. Rest with purpose. Recover with awareness. Then return sharper. That's how you last, not just today, but for life. Closing transition. Endurance is the proof of your strength. Not how loud you start, but how long you stay. You've learned to act with courage. Now you've learned to persist with faith. The Stoic endures because he knows every storm ends. And when it does, he'll still be standing. That's real power. That's the art of resilience. You've mastered endurance. Now it's time to master control over the one thing that fuels it all, your energy. Chapter 8. The Discipline of Energy. Opening tone, steady, controlled, commanding. Energy is your true currency. Not money. Not time. Energy. Because without energy, time is wasted. Without energy, opportunity is meaningless. The Stoic knows this, which is why he guards his energy like treasure. He doesn't give it to everyone. He doesn't waste it on everything. He invests it with intention. Because what you give energy to grows. And what you starve of energy dies. That's the key. Where energy goes, life flows. Look at your life right now. Everything thriving in it, you've fed it with energy. Everything fading, you've ignored it. Energy is not infinite. It's precious. And most people throw it away. They argue. They scroll. They worry. They react to everything and then wonder why they feel drained. The Stoic doesn't leak energy, he channels it. He knows attention is power. And focus is control. You don't need to do more. You need to waste less. That's the discipline of energy. The hidden energy thieves. Not all exhaustion comes from effort. Some comes from exposure to chaos, negativity, and noise. Energy thieves are everywhere. The endless opinions online. The emotional vampires who complain but never change. The self-doubt that plays on loop in your head. The Stoic identifies and eliminates these drains. He asks, does this feed me or deplete me? If it depletes, he detaches. No explanation. No guilt. Because energy spent defending your peace is never wasted. You don't need to attend every argument. You don't need to respond to every insult. You don't need to absorb every emotion that passes near you. Protecting your energy is protecting your life force. Mental energy, the power of focus. Most people lose their day through distraction. They wake up reactive, checking, scrolling, comparing. By noon, they've already lost their mind's edge. Focus is a finite resource, and every unnecessary decision drains it. That's why the Stoic simplifies. He removes the trivial to amplify the essential. He doesn't multitask, he executes. One task, one purpose, one full presence. That's how energy multiplies. Not through chaos, but through clarity. Discipline your focus, and your energy will follow. Emotional energy, the cost of reaction. Every reaction costs energy. Every argument, every outburst, every complaint, it all takes something from you. Most people spend emotional energy like gamblers. They react to everyone and everything, hoping it'll make them feel better. But the Stoic saves his emotion for where it matters. He doesn't give his peace away for free. When someone insults him, silence. When something fails, reflection. When life gets heavy, patience. Because reacting doesn't change reality. Responding does. You have a choice. Feed your anger or feed your peace. You can't do both. That's mastery. Physical energy, the foundation of discipline. Your body is your first battlefield. If it's weak, your mind follows. That's why Stoic discipline begins with the physical. Movement, breath, strength, sleep. You can't think clearly in a tired body. You can't control emotion when your energy is chaos. The Stoic treats his body like a tool of mastery, not vanity. He trains not to impress, but to endure. He rests not from laziness, but for longevity. Because every rep, every breath, every hour of sleep fuels clarity. The body feeds the mind. The mind directs the soul. That's the connection. Conservation and direction. The undisciplined mind wastes energy trying to control the uncontrollable. The Stoic conserves it by accepting reality. You can't control people. You can't control outcomes. But you can control effort, focus, and attitude. So stop fighting what you can't fix. Start mastering what you can. That shift from reaction to control instantly returns your energy. You'll find yourself calmer, clearer, stronger. Because you're no longer scattering your power, you're directing it. The Stoic filter, energy alignment. Every decision filters through one question. Does this align with who I want to become? If it does, feed it. If it doesn't, starve it. The Stoic doesn't chase every opportunity. He selects with precision. Because saying yes to everything is another form of weakness. Focus is saying no to what doesn't serve your purpose. That's not selfish, it's strategic. Energy follows alignment. When your actions, values, and priorities align, your power multiplies. That's how purpose becomes performance. The recharging rituals. Even warriors need to recharge. Energy management isn't about constant motion, it's about rhythm. The Stoic builds rituals that renew his energy. Morning reflection. Midday silence. Evening gratitude. These aren't luxuries, they're maintenance. Because the mind, like the body, needs restoration. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't lead from an empty spirit. So fill your reserves deliberately. Every pause isn't weakness, it's preparation. Energy and presence. The most powerful energy is presence. When your full attention is in the moment, not scattered in thought, you become magnetic. People feel it. Situations bend to it. Because presence is rare in a distracted world. The Stoic brings total energy to the now. Not trapped in the past. Not anxious about the future. Fully here. That's what gives him composure under pressure. That's what makes him unstoppable in chaos. Presence is power, silent, centered, immovable. Closing transition. Energy is the force behind everything. Without it, wisdom dies. Without it, action fails. Without it, endurance breaks. You've learned to preserve it, to direct it, to renew it. Now it's time to channel it toward the most difficult, yet most liberating mastery of all, detachment. Because true power isn't in holding on. It's in letting go. Chapter 9. The Discipline of Detachment. Opening tone, calm, deep, centered, wisdom spoken like truth that cannot be shaken. Attachment is the root of suffering. Every time you cling to people, outcomes, possessions, or praise, you hand away your peace. The Stoic knows this. That's why he practices the hardest discipline of all, detachment. Not coldness, not apathy, but freedom. Freedom from needing things to be a certain way before he can be calm. Freedom from depending on what he can't control. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop depending. You act with commitment, but live with release. That's the key. Why attachment weakens you. Attachment breeds fear. Fear of loss. Fear of change. Fear of being without. The more you cling, the more you suffer. Because everything you hold on to, people, possessions, opinions, will eventually shift. That's reality. Nothing is permanent. Not success. Not comfort. Not even relationships. The Stoic doesn't resist that truth. He embraces it. He loves deeply, but without possession. He works fiercely, but without obsession. He enjoys fully, but without dependence. Because he knows the tighter you grip, the faster things slip. The illusion of control. Attachment hides beneath control. You want things to go your way. You want people to act how you expect. But control is an illusion. The Stoic doesn't try to bend reality. He aligns with it. He doesn't waste energy fighting what is. He accepts it, then acts within it. That's not surrender, that's strategy. Because acceptance is not passive. It's power. It gives you clarity. It frees your mind to focus on what actually matters, your response. You can't control what happens. You can only control how you show up. And when you accept that, nothing can truly disturb your peace. Detachment and emotion. Emotions aren't the enemy. Clinging to them is. You feel anger, fine. But don't become anger. You feel sadness, honor it. But don't live in it. You feel joy, embrace it. But don't depend on it. The Stoic experiences every emotion, but remains the observer. He doesn't drown in feelings, he navigates through them. That's emotional detachment, feeling fully, reacting wisely. When something hurts, he doesn't ask, why me? He asks, what is this teaching me? Because detachment isn't numbness. It's understanding. Letting go of ego. Ego clings to identity. It says, this is who I am. This is what I deserve. This is how people should see me. But identity built on ego is fragile. It shatters when the world disagrees. The Stoic detaches from ego. He doesn't need validation to feel valuable. He doesn't need recognition to feel real. He knows who he is with or without applause. That's unshakable self-respect. You don't need to prove your worth through achievements. You don't need to justify your existence through approval. You are enough as long as you live with discipline and integrity. When ego dies, peace is born. Detachment from outcomes. The Stoic works hard, but he never clings to the result. Because outcomes belong to chance, not control. He gives everything effort, precision, presence. Then he releases the rest. That's freedom. When you detach from outcomes, failure loses power. You stop taking things personally. You stop fearing loss. Because you understand, your duty is effort. Your peace comes from execution, not expectation. Epictetus said it clearly, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. That's the discipline of detachment. Control what you can, surrender what you can't. Detachment from people. This one hurts the most. Because we love, we connect, we attach. But even love, when tangled with dependence, becomes pain. The Stoic doesn't isolate himself. He loves purely. He gives without ownership. He supports without controlling. He cherishes without clinging. He understands that every person is on their own path. You can walk beside them, but you can't walk for them. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop forcing. You stop trying to hold what isn't yours to hold. You stop trying to save what doesn't want to be saved. That's peace. Possessions and power. Material detachment doesn't mean poverty. It means freedom from dependency. The Stoic can enjoy wealth, but isn't owned by it. He can lose it all and remain himself. Because power isn't in having things. It's in being unchanged when they're gone. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." The Stoic uses possessions, he never worships them. He builds his worth inward, not outward. Because what you own can vanish. But who you are, that endures. The strength of letting go. Letting go isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It takes strength to release what you can't change. It takes faith to trust life without clinging to control. Most people stay stuck in cycles because they refuse to release what's already gone. The Stoic moves forward, not bitter, not broken, but balanced. He understands, holding on hurts more than loss itself. You can't receive what's next while your hands cling to what's gone. So let it go, the resentment, the expectation, the story of how it should have been. Silence the mind that argues with reality. What's meant for you will remain. What isn't will return as wisdom. The calm beyond attachment. When you practice detachment long enough, something shifts. Peace stops being conditional. You stop riding the emotional highs and lows of circumstance. You become centered, stable, still. That's Stoic calm, the stillness that no success can inflate and no failure can deflate. You stop chasing. You stop needing. You start being. And from that stillness, your power multiplies. Because now your energy, your action, and your endurance all flow from clarity, not craving. That's real freedom. Closing transition. Detachment is not escape. It's elevation. It's seeing the world clearly and choosing peace over possession. You've learned to let go of control, ego, and outcome. Now you're ready for the final step, transformation through virtue. Because mastery isn't about avoiding life. It's about living rightly, guided by principles that never break. Chapter 10. The Discipline of Virtue. Opening tone, resolute, timeless, like the final teaching of a master to a student. In the end, everything comes back to one word. Virtue. Virtue is the foundation of Stoicism. It's not philosophy. It's not religion. It's the standard for how you live when no one is watching. Virtue is your internal compass. It's the quiet law inside you that says, do what's right, even when it's hard. It's what keeps you unshaken when the world loses itself. Without virtue, your discipline becomes control. Your strength becomes pride. Your silence becomes emptiness. But with virtue, everything you've built becomes complete. Peace, power, clarity, purpose. That's the reward. The 4 pillars of the Stoic life. The Stoics built their lives on 4 unbreakable virtues. Wisdom, courage, justice, temperance. Not words, principles. Not beliefs, behaviors. Let's break them down. Wisdom is seeing clearly. It's understanding what's within your control and what isn't. It's choosing reason over impulse. Every decision becomes stronger when guided by wisdom. Courage is the strength to act on that wisdom. It's doing what's right, even when you're afraid. Even when it costs you comfort, reputation, or approval. Because fear loses power when virtue leads the way. Justice is treating others rightly even when they don't deserve it. It's discipline in action. It's remembering that power means nothing if it doesn't serve something good. Temperance is control. It's mastery over your desires, your words, your reactions. It's knowing that true freedom comes from restraint, not indulgence. That's the Stoic Blueprint. Wisdom to see, courage to act, justice to serve, and temperance to remain balanced. Live by these, and you become untouchable. Virtue as your true power. The modern world celebrates achievement. The Stoic celebrates character. Anyone can win for a moment. Few can stay honorable through failure. Virtue isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about showing up aligned with your values, even when no one notices. You can't fake virtue. It doesn't live in words, it lives in habits. It's in how you speak when angry. How you treat others when no one's watching. How you hold yourself when life turns dark. Virtue is the root. Everything else, success, respect, peace, grows from it. The test of integrity. You will be tested. Not once. Not twice. But every day. People will provoke you. Situations will tempt you. The world will pull you toward the easy path. That's when virtue reveals itself. Integrity isn't tested when things go right. It's tested when no one's around to applaud. When doing the right thing feels lonely. The Stoic stands firm. He remembers. You don't need their permission. He chooses the path that builds character, not comfort. Because in the long game, character always wins. Virtue and freedom. Freedom isn't doing whatever you want. Freedom is ruling over yourself. When virtue guides you, you stop being a slave. to fear, to pleasure, to ego, to chaos. Virtue frees you from the need to impress, from the need to prove, from the need to chase what doesn't matter. Most people are prisoners of impulse. The Stoic is free because he's governed by principle. You have a choice every day. Serve your emotions or master them. Follow temptation or follow truth. That's the battlefield of every human soul. The quiet strength of virtue. Virtue doesn't shout. It doesn't need to. Its strength is quiet, steady, constant. It's in the way you keep your word, the way you remain calm in storms, the way you carry yourself with respect, no matter how others act. That's real confidence. It doesn't beg for attention. It commands respect through consistency. The Stoic doesn't say, "Trust me." He lives in a way that makes trust unnecessary. Because virtue is visible not through speech, but through self-control, through presence, through peace. Virtue and leadership. True leadership begins with self-mastery. You can't lead others if you can't lead yourself. You can't earn respect if you can't control your reactions. The Stoic leads through example, through discipline, through humility, through reason. He doesn't command, he demonstrates. He doesn't dominate, he elevates. Because leadership isn't about being followed. It's about being worth following. When you live virtuously, people feel your presence. They trust your steadiness. They sense your peace. That's leadership, not power over others, but power over self. Virtue in a corrupted world. The world will always test virtue. Lies will be louder than truth. Pleasure will be easier than principle. Comfort will be more tempting than courage. But that's why virtue matters now more than ever. The Stoic doesn't escape the world, he stands upright within it. He doesn't complain about corruption, he refuses to join it. He doesn't wait for society to be moral, he chooses to be. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs examples. You become that example when you live by virtue, quietly, consistently, and completely. That's how revolutions begin, not in noise, but in discipline. The reward of virtue. Virtue doesn't guarantee comfort. It guarantees clarity. You'll still face hardship. You'll still be misunderstood. But you'll be unbroken. Because your peace won't depend on praise. Your strength won't depend on success. Your worth won't depend on anyone else's opinion. That's freedom. That's peace. That's power. The Stoic walks through the world calm, grounded, free because he's guided by an inner law no one can take away. That's what makes you unstoppable. The final lesson. You've mastered silence. You've built resilience. You've learned detachment. Now you know all of it leads here. Virtue is the summit. The Stoic path isn't about being unfeeling, it's about being unbreakable. It's not about rejecting emotion, it's about mastering it. It's not about controlling others, it's about controlling yourself. That's the blueprint. That's how you win in silence. You have a choice every moment to live below your potential or rise above it. To react or to respond. To chase comfort or embody virtue. Choose virtue. Every time. The strategic use of silence. Silence isn't just spiritual, it's tactical. In arguments, silence disarms. In business, silence intimidates. In leadership, silence commands respect. The disciplined person doesn't rush to fill every pause. He understands that silence makes others reveal themselves. People expose their truth when they can't tolerate stillness. So you let them talk. You listen. You learn. You stay composed. Control the silence, and you control the room. The noise of the ego. Ego hates silence. It feeds on attention. It needs to be seen, validated, applauded. That's why most people can't stop talking. Their self-worth depends on being heard. But the Stoic knows better. He doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. He knows who he is, and that's enough. When the ego quiets, authenticity rises. You stop performing. You start being. You stop explaining yourself. You start expressing yourself through action. And that's what real confidence looks like, calm, composed, unbothered. The discipline of saying less. Control your words like you control your actions. Don't speak out of emotion. Don't promise out of excitement. Don't insult out of anger. Words are energy. Once spoken, they can't be taken back. The undisciplined speak to release emotion. The wise speak to create direction. So before you speak, ask, Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? If not, stay silent. Your silence will never embarrass you. Your words might. That's not weakness. That's maturity. That's mastery. The gift of solitude. There's a deeper layer to silence, solitude. Being alone without being lonely. When you're comfortable in solitude, you become self-contained. You stop needing noise to feel alive. You stop chasing people to feel valued. You find power in your own company. That's where self-respect is forged. That's where purpose is refined. Most people fear solitude because it forces them to meet themselves. But that's exactly why you need it. Because when you can stand alone, you become unstoppable. Closing transition. Silence is not retreat. It's refinement. It's how the strong recover, reset, and rise. You've mastered common noise. You've learned to listen when others react. You've found strength in stillness. Now it's time to turn that stillness into motion. To move with precision, purpose, and presence.